Here we are, it's the Cherokee Jim again, and I'm making this video because today, Thursday, we've got the Scottish elections here for the Scottish Parliament. But I'm going to start it off by talking about the Trump success in America. See, despite the criticisms, the jokes, the innuendo and the slurs, and Donald Trump is a winner as presumptive candidate for the Republican candidate for the presidential elections. All of his opponents in the Republican Party have been, they've perished under the wheels of the Donald Trump roller coaster that is sweeping through America. And I have to say, why? Well, it's simple, really. It's simple. He's been open. He's been honest. Whatever he thinks up here in his head, he speaks. He's a barroom politician that's gone a bit further. And whatever enters his head becomes his policy. And it's an open honesty that is beyond belief, and the man has got the support of the voters, and that's what you want. You want the support of the voters. The Republican Party, the Ted Cruz and all the rest of them, they had the support of the party behind them, but there's no good the party being behind them if the voters aren't behind them, and the voters are following Donald Trump. Some of the things that he says, especially on the Muslim issue, was they fired the shot and tried to use it against him, but the shot backfired. And what happened is Donald Trump actually succeeded in crushing the people that were against him. I have to move my blinds and things like that. I'm making sure that nobody can fucking attack me through the window and that, because I'm not exactly a popular person. But anyway, it's a very welcome breath of fresh air in politics, because he's one of the people. He's not a politician. He's a businessman that's made his own fortune. I mean, the guy was bankrupt and he still became one of the richest people in the world, because he's got that fortitude. He's got that drive behind him. He's got everything going for him, because he makes the effort. And to turn around and try and downcry him, it's a very, very bad mistake. I mean, the voters are behind him, and especially on the Muslim issue. And the media tried to isolate the words "stop all immigration" and take it away from the rest of what he said, was what she keep the refugees out until we know what we're dealing with. And the media didn't report the until we know what we're dealing with. We know what we're dealing with, and it was terrible. Our politicians over here need to learn that lesson. You've got a party few stalwarts, and you have your campaigners, and they go out there and they campaign on what the SNP tell them, or the Labour Party, or the Conservative Party. They go out there and they campaign on what those advisors and those campaigners and the party leaders tell them to do. And they think that the rest of us are going to get on board and do this. And it's not going to happen. I mean, we see some people, especially on the Isle of Bute and things like that, we had people there with placards, you know. We welcome the refugees and the refugees are welcome. Scotland welcomes the refugees and all the rest of it. That's a few people. Just a few. The rest of Scotland, the voters, the people out there that are getting their benefits cut, getting their pensions cut, getting their tax credits cut, those people out there are looking at these refugees, and the councils are being paid £23,000 per refugee to teach them to speak English. Now, what's wrong with helping them keep their own country where they don't need to learn to speak English? They're not going to have to fight the ordinary people while the bureaucrats ignore the ordinary people to build mosques. We're not going to see the black ISIS flag or the Islamic State flag. We're not going to see that in Britain. If we help these people stay in their own country, speaking their own language, leading their own culture, and believing in their religion, instead of coming over here and trying to get us to change to suit them. Now, they're being here invited as guests, but we, the hosts, the people on the street, the voters, we, the hosts, have to change all our way of living to accommodate the guests. It's not a realistic situation, is it? If you ask a disabled person who's had the benefit cut if they support a refugee, they're going to tell you no. If you ask an unemployed person, do you support the refugees? And that unemployed person is having to prove every day of his life that he's looking for work, searching for work that's not here. It's just not available. Or else he's going to get sanctioned and lose his benefits. Ask them if they support the refugees who are coming here and going to get hand-fed. And I'll tell you, no way. Ask a person that's over 65 and being forced to work until they're 70 before they can receive a pension. And yet the people that are making these decisions, the MPs that make these decisions, can retire at any time and receive a pension, no matter how young they are. Ask them if they support the refugees, and they're going to tell you, no. I could have swore there, but I'm trying not to. Trying my best. Every penny that you take from a disabled, an unemployed, or a pensioner is earmarked for something, you'd put it under the guise of doctors' tax cuts. And yet we know that most of that money is going to go to the refugees. If you didn't encourage the refugees to come here, you wouldn't have that expense. The baby on the beach that died, that was used to the full extreme on a media fallout to get the border laws relaxed enough so that the refugees could come in. That baby on the beach, he died because you are encouraging the refugees to come here. You. With your soft-hearted ideas, your ideologically fucking bad ideas. We've got the gay liberation and all the rest of it, all these gay rights and all that. They're standing there with their placards. Britain welcomes Islam. Has anybody thought to tell these idiots that under Islamic law the homosexual men would be beaten? They would have had poles rammed up their anus. They would have been killed, beheaded. The women, the lesbians, would have been buried up to their neck in sand and stoned to death, a horrendous way to die. Same with prostitutes. The prostitutes would be buried up to their head in sand and stoned to death. And yet they're there saying, we welcome Islam. I word integration. They're going to integrate with the communities and things like that. You know. Integration involves being tolerant of each other's religious beliefs. Now, all I can see is that our Christian leaders are being tolerant of the Muslim belief, and they allow them to build mosques. And yet the Muslims want us to change because our way of life offends them. We're the host country. We're the host people. And yet we offend them. To me, that's not an integration. Now, in the Scottish election, the SNP are running for the votes, and the SNP don't realise, under the Sturgeonite leadership, just how much damage they've done. For instance, on the gun laws, the air gun, the air rifles and that, there's tens of thousands of people in Scotland have got air rifles, and they paid something like £350–400 per air rifle. Now, because of a couple of junky feuds and things like that, they've outlawed the air rifle and that, and people are having their air guns, their air rifles confiscated, and no compensation. Now, despite the protests and all the rest of it, of tens of thousands of people, the Sturgeonite administration decided they were going to go ahead and outlaw them, and people lost and had their weapons confiscated. Now, they're knocking on the doors of these people looking for their votes today. They're shouting out for the votes today. Keep the Tories out, and yet the dictatorial, it's a dictatorship, and they've told the people in Scotland, we don't care what you say, we're going to make this gun law positive. So what happens is it's like, I can't go out and buy a Saturday night special or something like that, although I got one somewhere, but I can't go out and buy a Saturday night special to shoot somebody or defend myself. It's illegal to own such weapons. But the junkies have got them. We haven't. Well, most of us haven't. And it's the same with the air rifles. They've confiscated the air rifles, the high-powered hunting air rifles and that. So the ordinary people in the street haven't got one. But you can guarantee the junkies have got them because they know where to get them. We really need to sort this government out, and they're not listening to us. On the Muslim thing, what the hell is wrong with giving them back their own country? What the hell is wrong with us going into Syria and just annihilating the Islamic State and giving back Syria to the Syrian people? They've got their own religion, they've got their own way of life, they've got their own culture, they've got everything going for them. But in Syria, and they're coming over here, and they want the same thing over here, but they won't tolerate us. And it beggars belief sometimes. You put them in their own country where they can follow their own culture and everything would be fine. Right, now, Scotland put a UKIP member of the European Parliament into power. It was a select few Scottish voters that done it, and it was done to prove that the voters in the street didn't believe in the party that was going. They didn't believe in the SNP rulings and all the rest of it. And I said during the referendum that when it come to the European Parliament, that we would have one UK or UKIP member of the European Parliament. And I actually said that in the Yes campaign office to our now SNP MP for Dumfries and Galloway, Richard. And actually, him and I sort of came to loggerheads a little bit about it, although it wasn't a real fallout. It was just he tried to put his point across and I tried to put mine. And I said that we were actually going to put a UKIP representative into the European Parliament, and we did, just to prove that we could. The SNP never took any notice of it, and I don't think Richard took it seriously, but it will happen. Now, despite Nigel Farage's rants and raves about Scottish people being scroungers and benefit junkies and all the rest of it during the lead up to the referendum, if Nigel Farage got his act together and acted a bit more intelligent and put forward a more intelligent manifesto. There's an awful lot of people in Scotland that voted yes for independence that would actually vote for him. Because the people in Scotland that wanted the independence for Scotland, for the Scottish people. We didn't know at the time that we voted yes in the referendum that we were actually going to vote for a saltire with a Syrian flag in the middle of the saltire. I made one up and I put it on my Facebook, and it offended a few people, but I don't give a fuck. Now, today, I don't want the Tories getting in, I don't want the Labour getting in, I don't want the Greens getting in, I don't want any other party in Scotland except the SNP. Now, today's vote, I had decided that I wasn't going to vote. I wasn't going to vote at all because the SNP weren't going to get my vote, and I wasn't going to give it to anybody else. And I've been that my whole life. If I wasn't in Scotland and there was an election, I didn't vote because I couldn't vote SNP because I wasn't in Scotland. And it's been like that my whole life. My whole life has been spent being a Scottish nationalist. I think I was a Scottish nationalist before even Alex Salmon. I don't know. I might be wrong there, but all I can remember is Scottish nationalism. I fought alongside George Thompson when he became the first SNP member here. I fought for Matthew Brown, unfortunately he lost. So I've done a lot of work for the SNP in this Dumfries and Galloway constituency. And I can remember when I lived in Kirkconnell, which was Dumfries and Galloway, well, Dumfries area, way back before the boundaries were made, I was SNP. So I've been SNP my whole life. I think I've been SNP before the SNP. But today, I wasn't going to vote. And I'll be honest, I hate the thought of my vote going to the SNP. But we have one good thing in this area, and that is Aileen McLeod. And Aileen has done a lot for this area. It's the people in the area that rule the roost, that take our work and divert it into the wrong areas. I mean, we're going to get £2 or £3 million for the harbour regeneration, and you can guarantee it's going to be something that I'll no use, or people like me will no use. We spent millions on this new marina down here. I'll never use it because I haven't got a boat. And a good majority of the people in Stranraer will never be able to afford a canoe, let alone a boat that uses a marina, you know. But there it is. This is the thing, is to attract tourism. And who in their right mind is going to come to a town that's dead of any kind of diversity, to a marina? It's going to bring a big fancy yacht to Stranraer and park it up in the marina, and there's nothing here for them. We've got nothing. Because the regeneration funds and things like that, that Aileen McLeod has fought so desperately for this area, is going to go into the wrong kind of things. Now, Stranraer was supposed to get the casino, the super casino. And all the businesses were going, woo, woo. Think of all the money that's going to come. The only thing about that is a super casino is going to have its own restaurants. It's going to have its own hotel rooms. It's going to have its own bars. Because the idea of a super casino is you get the customers in there, you put to park their cars up, go into that building and don't come out until they're skint. And all the businesses are going, woo, 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 we're going to win. Bollocks. The casino was going to win. You weren't. Muppets. But there it is, this is it. So my vote, yes. So I have to admit that the vote that I wasn't going to cast is going to be cast. But I'm consoling myself in the fact that what I'm actually doing is I'm making a personal vote to a young lady who has worked her socks off to bring funds into this area. It's not her fault that the funds are going to go to the wrong place. But she fought hard and fast and she got us funds to regenerate Stranraer. It's not going to do it, but she got the funds. So I'm voting for Aileen McLeod. A personal vote, not a vote for the SNP, although she's got to adhere to the SNP party guidelines and all the rest of it. You know, I have convinced myself that my vote is for Aileen McLeod and not the SNP, and I will not have it any other way. Aileen gets my votes. Nicola Sturgeon can go and hang herself. My vote is for Aileen McLeod. My 2 votes are for Aileen McLeod. And for Stranraer and Dumfries and Galloway, I hope there's a lot more people who follow my guide. Because Aileen McLeod was the best MSP to hit this area. So go out there tomorrow and give her your 2 votes. She's the only one in the whole of the political organisation that in the past few years has done something for Dumfries and Galloway, and especially Stranraer. Good night. Oh dear.